fucked up against something else.
Well, now it's more fucked up.
I messed up. Okay, look at this toe. Look at it.
Oh, that's bad. What did you do to that toe?
I hit it against the lira.
Why don't you just like put a Band-Aid over it to protect it from any further for a few days until it gets better?
Because the skin isn't broken.
It doesn't matter. Put the Band-Aid over it, it'll protect it. And then 2 days, in 2 days, take the Band-Aid off, and then you'll finally have allowed it to get healed before you bump it into something.
Well, I keep putting arnica gel on it, so that's why it's uncovered. And then I came over here in a hurry.
She's like, I don't have time to take care of my toe. My poor toe.
She must be in her 20s. Love you.
Listen, we're not wrong. I'm just gonna hit record.
Just start recording.
Yeah.
When I
Okay,
started seeing like a primary care physician, and they're like, so why are you here? And I'm like, well, like my foot and my back and my toe and like this itches, and they're like, how long has this been going on? And it's like, I don't really remember. And they're like, why didn't you do something? And
No,
it's like,
I have a lot of medical anxiety, so I've actually been pretty consistently seeing my PCP like throughout my 20s. But there was I also my parents were not anti-vax, but like my mother just never really understood the science of vaccines. And she was just like, I don't get why you need booster shots. What's the fucking point? Like, your immune system got it once. So I never got booster shots for like anything. And then like in my adolescence I did. But once I hit adulthood, I had that mentality. So then this most recent time I went and I'm like, hi, I probably need like 17 booster shots. And she's like, you literally never finished your HPV series. I'm like, that's bad.
I have to do that, I think, still.
Yeah, well, and now CVS is calling me like, hey, do you want an HPV vaccine? I'm like, why does CVS know that I'm a slut?
Well, CVS, they know things, you know.
clearly.
Remember when CVS a few years ago was like, we're actually just going to stop selling cigarettes and nicotine, and like,
Really?
and if that hurts our business, who cares? And they just stopped. So
Good for them.
that company doesn't sell tobacco anymore.
Good for
Oh.
them.
Isn't that pretty cool?
I need to start going to CVS.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have one near me. Whatever.
CVS were big do you remember they like didn't exist in Chicagoland area, and then all of a sudden around like maybe 2001, it was like CVS was a thing.
Yeah, I know there's one in the Loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple on the list.
Yeah, but you know what I miss? I miss a Rite Aid. I used to go to Rite Aids when I was in New York all the time.
I don't know, Rite Aid.
Oh, it's great.
Just like a pharmacy.
It's like the Dollar Tree of pharmacies.
Ah,
It's great.
it sounds questionable.
It is.
They're like the off
Yeah.
brand.
It was the
Pills.
only drugstore that would sell my brother cigarettes because he came to New York to visit me when he was 21, and all the bodegas in Washington Heights refused to sell him cigarettes because he had an Illinois ID. So they all thought it was fake, and you know he's like me. He has a perpetual baby face. So they all thought he was underage. So we had to go to a Rite Aid in Washington Heights to get him cigarettes.
In Washington Heights.
In the Heights. Yes, that was every day of my life. Before we get into it, so we covered dating, gay culture, social media.
That's a random stuff.
What else? We just wanted to see what comes up and what goes.
Yeah, what was the other thing you had? You had one more thing.
How quarantine helped?
Yes.
Yeah, I think quarantine did help with my anxiety, just because all of a sudden I felt very opposite than everyone. Because a month in, people were talking about how like hard it was for them, or like it was hard on. It's no matter who went through this, it was not good for any of us truly in the full scheme of things. But a lot of people, I think, through my depressive 20s. I learned how to spend time with myself, and I learned to be my friend, and I learned how to just chill by myself. And I don't think a lot of people my age I think they had a nicer 20s and they weren't going through what I was going through. So now all of a sudden, when they were forced to see no one and just be with themselves, I think it was overwhelming for them. Whereas I was like, I know this. And so I found that it was super helpful for my anxiety, because just as a performer, as someone who wants to get out there and do stuff, it just takes a lot of energy to do that. You know, to put yourself out there, to go to auditions, to go to the social gatherings, to go to the opening of that new musical that's gonna have all those fancy people there and like schmooze, to go to social events that you want to go to someone's birthday party, but you know that birthday party is gonna be filled with actors and performers and people, and the conversations are just gonna be revolving around what projects they're working on and what they're doing. As maybe an actor who wasn't doing much, it's like so very overwhelming and anxiety producing to be in those places. So to all of a sudden have all of it stop and not have anything to do or anywhere to go, I was like, I felt like the fantasy that we all have of like hitting pause on our life and just like it came true for me, and I was like oh my god, I've got time to exercise consistently. I can like take a look at what I'm eating. I'm trapped inside, but I enjoy cleaning and organizing. I'm very, very insane that way. So I remember like a month in, I had been through every drawer. I knew where everything was because I was like just loving it. I was like getting all this shit done, like reapplying for my passport, like all these to-do list personal things that regular life wasn't allowing time for. Just little projects, reaching out to friends. And then on the other side of it, it was all about not having to respond to people's texts and stuff. Because that is expected in a normal working world, is responding to people and stuff. And I will or want to. And it's not that I don't want to. But all of a sudden, the pandemic allowed for this weird ambiguity of like responses and keeping up with people. Because it truly didn't matter, you know. Clearly, if you have really close friends that you talk to all the time, that's whatever you instinctively want to do. But I would get texts and I just would look at them and read them. And this is kind of in my normal behavior too, not just quarantine. But I would just put the phone down and not text them back and just like be like, I don't have that in me right now to respond to people or to keep up with people. And we're all going through our thing. And I was like, this is the perfect excuse not to. And it was super helpful just to not have to be near people or talk to people. Not that it's humans that I have the problem with, but it's just more of like all those expectations of real life. And I felt like that helped me kind of play catch up with my own emotions a little bit.
That's
like
valid.
Get on track with where I was.
There was a weird catharsis in like, I'm not getting anything done, but it's okay because no one else is getting anything done.
Yes.
Literally no one else in the fucking world.
Yeah. Like,
absolutely.
We're all stuck.
Like having that pressure taken off of you, like we were talking before about like social media. Well, no one was doing anything. And so all of a sudden it was okay to not be doing anything because that was the new norm for everyone.
Yeah, no one was going anywhere new, so they didn't have these like fabulous boat pictures to post or whatever.
Because everybody would have torn them to shreds for being on our fucking boat.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. My issue actually, and this is like, it makes so much sense in hindsight sort of thing. My mental health got worse in this spring. As we were like coming out of quote, it's still happening, coming out of the pandemic, because all of a sudden people were starting to do things again. And the entire pandemic I had thought to myself, cool, I have all this time. Now I can like, I wanted to catch up. I was like, I'm like, now I can catch up, now I can do things. And I still couldn't. And I didn't like, I mean, I did things, but I didn't, I according to my own expectations, like did not meet them, and I like just completely spiraled. And then at that point, I was finally like, I think I need to be on medication.
Yeah, but you
and
also
I was
realize
right.
how that's capitalism in you, telling you that you needed to get something done.
It's capitalism. It's also an imbalance of dopamine and norepinephrine.
But it's also an ambitious, intelligent person who has been raised in a society where your value is based off of what you do or what you can put out or whatever, rather than like taking that time for self-care. Because no matter what you did during the quarantine of the pandemic, it was right. You know what I mean? No matter how you handled it. If some people who were living their fucking lives for the pandemic, they were like just, social butterflies, had a great job, had all this stuff. And then all of a sudden everything was taken away and they like had to sit with themselves, had the hardest time. Because maybe their life before was distracting them from actually like looking at themselves in the mirror or dealing with stuff. Maybe that person has their shit together, but they're just a personality that thrives better when they can be around people and be social, and being alone was hard. But there's no wrong way to deal with if you did nothing, if you did some stuff. I will say though, I'm a little evil, but I did have kind of a Schadenfreude moment when the pandemic first hit, because I stopped. Basically what happened was, like, I was a teacher, and I would do shows, at night, and do stuff when I could. And the way theater works is it snowballs. You get one show and you're like, okay, I'll take a break after this. And before that show's over, you get another callback or something, and you get another show, and then it's one into the next, into the next. And I did that while I was teaching for like 6 years. And I was like 26, and then I moved to Australia for a year. Very random. Still teaching. Was a lot of fun. Was kind of depressed the whole time, but didn't know it. It was fine because I was like on a beach and missed winter.
I took a 6 week sabbatical to Barcelona when I was depressed. So
you're like depressed just in a different place, but it's still nicer than being depressed.
You're having a mental breakdown, but like in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. So I had came back from Australia, and I was not in a good place mentally. That's something I'm proud of myself though for, is no matter all the shit I've been going through, I still get shit done. That's what my best friend tells me. She's like, look at you. You were in the deepest depression of your life, and you still went through the Second City program. Because like, even though I'm depressed, I've got this part of my brain that is so driven that I'm like, gotta do something. And even though I feel like I'm doing nothing, I still get something done somehow, and so when I got back from Australia, I was gone for a year. So there was a break in that snowball effect of theater stuff. And the whole time I was doing this theater stuff, that was just my in. I came from theater. That's how I could get started. I wanted to do the comedy stuff. I love writing comedy. I just want to be a part of that world. So when I got back from Australia, I had nothing on my plate. And so I was able finally to take Second City classes. Because you can't take, 2 classes a week when you're also performing or rehearsing. It's just impossible. So I was able finally to do that, and I got involved with like the comedy world. I forgot where I was going with this, but I ended up Schadenfreude. So I was doing all the comedy shit, and then I was still doing it while I was teaching. And the next thing I recognized that was making me unhappy was teaching, because my worst fear is that I'll end up as a music teacher in the town I grew up in. And I was already living my worst fear. You know what I mean? Like, because teaching was I loved it. It's not my passion, but teaching out in the suburbs, and those were where the jobs were at that I was able to get. And teaching out there and spending my time in the place where I grew up is fine for some people, but I want to move to other places. I want to do bigger things. So I got out of teaching and I got a 9-to-5. And it started, I started temping for a little bit to get used to working in offices, because I had gone right into teaching. I had no office experience. And I'm like capable, but without anything on your resume. So then I got these other, I got a staffing industry job. And I had made a conscious decision when I was switching from teaching to staffing, where I took a break from comedy too. I just wanted to get on track, get a 9-to-5, get my life together. And then go back out and start doing stuff. I was just being very mature, taking a break for myself. And this break was when quarantine hit. So the week before quarantine hit, I can remember scrolling through Instagram and seeing people that I know, friends in shows, doing stuff, getting cast and stuff, and thinking, I am sad right now. Did I make the right decision to take a break, to get out of that world? I didn't even want to be in the theater world at that moment. Everyone wants to be in a show or something, but I was doing the comedy stuff. But still, seeing that theater stuff made me so sad. And I was like, did I make this bad decision? I wish I was doing these shows. But I'm doing this 9-to-5 and I'm not even performing. Then a week later, I was working from home. All of my friends lost their jobs. And I was like, maybe I did make the right decision. And it just really, it was this moment where for so many years as an actor in Chicago, I felt very, I think we all feel like this, or we all have our own ego, but I felt underused. I was like, I'm good at what I do. I'm not making any shows. Clearly, I'm not a dancer. What I've learned now is I'm much more specific. I am the boy next door lead who doesn't dance. Emmett in Legally Blonde. Whatever the lead guy's name is in Wedding Singer.
Yes.
The guy in First Date. There's a very specific track for me. It's a lead role, but it's a guy next door who doesn't dance.
As someone waiting to age into being a character actress specifically for Sondheim musicals, I feel
Right. Yeah, I had to learn it's either that or character stuff.
Yep.
And those parts just weren't around, or I was too young, or whatever it was. But I wasn't getting a lot of stuff, and I was very frustrated during my 20s, and all of my friends were succeeding. And all of a sudden quarantine hit, and they all like didn't know what to do with themselves, with their lives without theater. And I remember thinking, oh, so now you know how it feels. Like I remember thinking that. And that's my own personal thing, but I remember thinking like, honestly, good. Because some of you, I mean, these are the same people who now are booking Broadway shows. So like all they had to do was go through like a little time. But I thought maybe this is good for some of you, because speaking as someone who used to like listen to these friends complain about their ensemble roles in these big equity shows, it was frustrating, and it was like, you guys need some perspective, you know? So I hope that gave it to them, but I did feel a little schadenfreude of like taking pleasure in their discomfort because and that's kind of immature of me, I guess, but it's just what came naturally to me was like, good. Other people know how it feels to,
Well, I think sometimes in the arts it feels so unbalanced. Like some people get out of college and they get right into Book of Mormon, and they get on the tours, and they get the agent, and they're booking roles on Showtime, and they seem to have it so much easier than the rest of us that paid the same amount of money for those college programs. And like hearing them complain about being burnt out, and they have the thing that you've been wanting.
It's like, cool, fuck you, go home, I'll do it.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, like I remember like a friend of mine complaining about how she kept getting called in to audition for The Goodman and wasn't booking it. I'm like, I would kill just to show up for a day, even if I knew I wasn't going to get their role, just to be allowed to be in the same room as those people. Like, or she's like, they only see me as a reader, and they pay me so I sit all day and read with equity actors. And I'm like, that sounds great.
That's an extremely useful use of your time.
Can I do that? Yeah.
I think it's just a good reminder, no matter where you are, to remember that perspective. Because like even myself, who was listening to someone, I'd say 5 years ago, complain, and I wanted to be where they are, I probably didn't realize that I was doing the same thing as someone else who wasn't making these non-equity shows, or at least getting understudy roles for these equity shows or something, who was listening to me complain about my position, and I am in a place where they want to be. So it's always like this kind of hierarchy, but it's just important to look back down the steps of what you've been walking up, and remember that there's other people on the journey and some people get to take the elevator, but it's not fair. They didn't ask to be in the elevator either. Sometimes there's just a million factors. It's the director liked the way they look. They are just hot in general.
It's literally always the director who liked how they look.
They have a confidence that they got throughout their life that you didn't get because they didn't have the same circumstance. There's a million things. I think the most important lesson I've learned, though, is that there's no timeline. Capitalism and the entertainment industry want to make you feel like if you haven't done something by the time you're like 18 or 21 or something, that you're useless. But that is a very recent invention. I'd say like with the Justin Bieber era, it's a YouTube thing. It's like a new thing but basically what you have to remember is that our perspective is you want to be Olivia Rodrigo, who's so young and successful, but really it's about the industry using these young bodies to sell things, and then they're going to discard them. So you don't actually want to be in their position unless, you have a very specific set of factors that's going to allow you to break out of that mold once you're old enough. A good example
can't all be Ariana Grande.
Right.
Or Taylor Swift.
Or Zendaya, or some of these young people doing this stuff. But that there is no timeline. No one is technically against you.
What I've started doing, honestly, I don't know if this is the most responsible thing, but like I literally am just like, I'm not paying attention anymore because I fall into the comparison game very, very easily. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna do shit I like. And I'm going to not pay attention to anybody else. And if I accidentally see something on social media, I'm gonna be like, cool, whatever, good for them, and just keep scrolling.
I think it's funny because like old sayings, what's the word for old saying? Like idioms.
I know. Yeah.
So they all sound, we've heard them so much that when you hear them, you roll your eyes. But what I'm learning as I get older is all of them are true.
Yeah.
All of those things are true.
Well,
And
like what you were just saying, like something that someone said to me, and like you, like just remember that you are where you wanted to be 2 years ago.
such a simple saying you hear all the time. But
Right.
it's so true. Or some of these things people say, and it's just they're oversaid, but the reason they're said so much is because they actually turn out to be true. Like what you were just saying is trying to stop that comparison and just doing what you enjoy is how someone ends up making a piece of art that goes on to be pivotal in society, because they blocked away all that stuff. Very rarely is the product that someone is making while looking around at the other desks at other kids and how they're making it, does that product end up being sufficient enough or good enough to get to a higher platform? Or if it does, we end up with, some shitty movie that, you know what I mean? Like you can tell when a movie is made with love as opposed to like money.
Cinderella. Who said that?
The Camilla Cabellos.
Oh my God. I saw TikTok videos where I thought it was someone doing like a fake
I
voiceover.
did too.
And it was just her actual voice. And I was like, I would give this girl voice lessons for free if she would just fucking take them.
Oh my God.
This poor girl.
Oh my God.
They didn't even try.
It hurts me in my soul and I don't
They
want to
didn't
look at
even
it.
try.
I think one of the most important things I've learned as far as performing and stuff, though, or trying to get rid of that anxiety of it, is there's literally no point. It's okay to still look back at your past or recall on it. There's no point in being mad at anything that you've done up until the present second, because you can't do anything about it. You can't change anything you've done in the past at all until we figure out time travel.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it. So there's no point in saying like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. Or like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or I should have said that. Or whatever it is. Now, you can always recall in horror if you want to.
Yeah.
Or like look back at something and be like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best decision. But there's no point in beating yourself up or being mean to yourself or your past self about things you've done.
Right.
The only thing you can do is like, don't be mean to yourself about your past. Be encouraging to yourself about your future.
Well, and to your earlier point, it's like I have found for me personally that it's just like there's no point in me comparing myself to people who had different opportunities, different sets of circumstances, and also who didn't have to fight through 5 years of extremely shitty mental health.
Yeah,
right?
Everyone is different. And at the end of the day, adversity will only make you stronger at the end, in the end, because you've gone through so much more. If let's say there's another 31-year-old guy out there who has had a pretty decent or pretty easy life as far as like, he just didn't have to deal with any mental health stuff. Had a pretty similar life as me and is like a writer as well. And let's say he writes a script and I write a script. I think maybe the person who went through more shit along their way is going to have a little bit more depth or perspective that they gained along the way from those rock bottoms and from the stuff that they've gone through. So the ending product might end up being holding a little bit more water than the person who hasn't gone through too much.
Well, I just feel like I know how to take care of myself now for the first time in my life because of all of those rock bottoms and toxic relationships internally, externally, and with all the random jobs that I've had now too. I finally landed myself in a role where I'm not being micromanaged. My creativity is being fostered. And I can now go to like a theater, an audition, and be like, I know who I am, and no matter who is in the room is not going to change that. Because whether you like me or not, I am still going to go home and I'm going to take care of myself. Like no one else is in charge of that except me.
Yeah.
Like the financial place where I'm at right now, like I'm so much better with my money to like give myself that financial stability, even if something should fall through the next day with my current job. I never had that kind of confidence in myself before. You don't have that when you come right out of college or if you have a trust fund.
Some people do, and I think that's the thing is people who may go through more stuff earlier on are just gonna, it depends on factors. Stuff could happen to you, or who knows, but the work we're doing now is probably gonna make us have a more stable 40s than some of these people who haven't had any adversity or haven't maybe stopped to acknowledge or think about their behavior or what's making them unhappy, or if they are unhappy in general. They might have this breakdown a little bit later.
Yeah, well, because I was going to say that's the pitfall, because it's the thing is you have to do the work, but you also have to be in the place of, like, let's call it what it is, privilege to be able to look at that. Because the trap that I find myself falling into, and specifically like when I was having really bad mental health issues, is like I would constantly be like, people have it so much worse than me, why the fuck can't I get it together? And it's like, yes, that's a thing that I need to take into consideration when speaking about how I treat myself and like the journey that I've gone through, but also I can't think about that every day, because then it's just this double guilt of like, why aren't I better? People have it so much worse, why aren't I better?
Both are true.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that's another life lesson I've learned, is that everything comes down to an equilibrium. There's very rarely black and white. Everything is usually gray. And both of those things are true. You're acknowledging that you have had, a certain life of privileges to allow you to be where you are, and you're like, other people have it worse. Why am I struggling? That is a truth.
Like, I'm educated enough,
right.
Grew up middle class enough, had a good enough home life to be
also
able
true.
to do that.
But the other part is also true, though, is you're trying to improve yourself, and other people aren't struggling the way you are, and it's both. And that's the important thing to acknowledge, is it's good that you're acknowledging that other people might have, less of these privileges and less time to acknowledge and think about that.
Yeah.
I think that as long as you're acknowledging that, then you're doing the correct work.
Yeah.
But I think it's both things.
Yeah. And I mean, you can only experience what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like,
I only have control of me.
Yeah, well,
and
like
barely.
Like, you only get to live in your head. You're never going to get to live in another person's head who has fewer privileges than you. So if it is a low part in your life, that's going to be your experience.
It's also there's nothing you can do about, really, personally, about people, who might have it a little worse off, or in a darker situation or something. There's nothing you can personally do. You can make yourself mentally aware of that and think about that, because plenty of people don't.
And donate to causes.
You can do what you can, but just any given day, it's not like you can change the world with your own. And then truly, and this is something I thought a lot about, is like, I want to write, and I want to write these satire. I'm very inspired by satirical comedy, and I think that television, again, is good and bad at the same time. I think that watching TV all day does something to our brains, but I also think the content that we're taking in could help shift and change the perspective of a large amount of people all at once. So it's good and bad, and I want to be a part of that. But I kept thinking to myself, like, I want to do that so bad, but you're not in a good place. And it was like, in order to do the work I want to do that hopefully could affect the world in some type of positive way, I have to take care of myself and get healthy enough to be able to get to the point where I can make that work, where I can do that work, or write those things. Because I'm not going to help anyone if I'm just at home sad or mad at the world. I can't do anything. So that's why self-care is, I think, important too, to make sure that you're, doing your best so that you can then help other people.
And that's something we had a lot of time for in the Pandorama.
Sure did.
In the Pandemi Lovato.
Pandemonium. It's kind of self-care, but it's
Pandemonium Lovato.
Yes.
I love it. But like I started like coming up with ideas for TikTok, and I would be like, well, I don't have time to film that right now. I don't have my hair done. I'm going to write it down and I'll do it later. And then I never would, because I would never be in that same creative space to do it. And now I make sure that, like, I got my ducks in a row, I got my work done, or like if I always am at a place where I can take an hour break with my day job, which is lovely. And so if I have an idea for a 15-second video, I just do it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sometimes you have to ride that creative wave. But I think the more habits you get down, good habits in your regular life, as far as whatever it is, eating breakfast in the morning, making sure you're hydrated, doing your stretching, your exercising, getting your work done, cleaning, making your space appropriate. Everything you can do in that place will help out your mental health. And then when you are consistently feeling better, I think you'll find yourself in that creative space more often.
Yeah, I'm like allowing myself to give that priority.
It's cultivating a healthy life so that you can kind of harvest on top of it. And I think that that's super important. And you see what happens, I think, now it happens in a million different ways, but you see what happens when really, really creative people who are just like unstoppable don't take that time for themselves. They die at 27. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it kills them. Really, really, really creative people are usually haunted. You know what I mean? They're like haunted by something.
There's a shit ton of ghosts in here.
you know, there's so much going on, and I think it's really, really easy. I was just watching. My best friend Helen came over yesterday, and she's been taking archery lessons.
Fun.
And she's very unique as far as like she went to RISD, which is like Rhode Island School of Design. She's like art freak weirdo girl, just doesn't like mainstream anything. She's like this tiny Korean woman. And I was like, okay, let's watch a Hunger Games movies, just because like I know they're not good as far as like movie, like they're very commercial, but there's a lot of archery, and I think it'd be fun for you to watch tonight. And we just wanted to watch like a nonsense thing. So we put that on, and Philip Seymour Hoffman was in it, because I put on the second one. And I was thinking about him last night, how someone so accomplished, but I tried to put myself in his shoes. Okay, I'm 50, and I've been making movies for 25 years, and I'm used to this now. I'm used to being famous. I'm used to being on set. I'm used to filming a movie, having it come out over and over and over and over again. I probably live a good life, have a good house, I've got my money taken care of, maybe I'm romantically satisfied, but like to get to that point where it's mundane again, these dreams that we all have, to live that life for so long that it becomes normal and mundane.
How did he die again?
He committed suicide, I think.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like OD questionable.
I don't remember the specifics, but I remembered that enough to like when I was watching the movie that I was like,
Yeah.
And it just made me think about how like truly no matter where you get to in your life, these goals you set, we are all just like animal beings on a rock. And so it'll always come down to that. Even if you are famous and the whole world knows you as humans, it doesn't, you're going to get to a plateau.
Well, and it's like, you know, you bring up like corporations, like follow your dreams, like anything you want, you can achieve. And we're set up to fail because having those goals, like I will be happy when I am at this weight, when I am equity, when I have an agent, when I am booking regularly, then I will be a happy person. Then I will be allowed to like myself. And you kind of get up to the top of the mountain and you still feel like, I know for myself, like I felt miserable.
You still feel that way because you weren't working on that the whole time. The whole idea is to work on liking yourself on the journey, as opposed to like liking yourself based off of these like checkpoints that you'll get to.
Yeah.
And it's just back to those sayings that are super common.
I was gonna say, I find myself thinking, possibly very clichély lately, I find myself thinking a lot, I'm the only person that I have to live with my entire life.
Yeah, but it's true.
So I may as well like me.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many. The world doesn't care about you, and not in a bad way, just in a literal way. Yeah. Like, the world doesn't care about you. You're not going to, I'm going to be a star. And then people are going to go out of their way to be like, would you like to be in my musical? Like, you have to do it. And if you don't go out and do the work, no one's going to notice or care. And it's not mean. It's just the way it is. You have to make your own kind of energy. Some people have help with that. Daddy's money. Or some people have beauty and they take off right away. But the world is already so against you.
Right.
That why would you not want to be on your own team? You're all you have.
Or recognize that people who are on your team aren't actually working for you, for your best self. Because like I was working around so many theater artists who would never consider me for their shows. Or I'd be like, hey, I'd love to be a part of your show. And they'd be like, oh, that's nice. And it made me believe, oh, I'm just not talented enough, or I'm just not the right age. And now that, thanks to the pandemic, taking time back, seeing everyone get back to work, I realized, no, those just weren't the right people for me to be working with.
That's a huge thing. Is
like, it's not my fault that you didn't have the artistic vision to see me in your show, because then I see the people that they did cast, and I hear about the stories, like about like the drama that person caused, or that they dropped out the day before, and I'm like I think it's what you brought up before. Like, directors will find a way to choose who they want, and they just chose not to want me, and there's nothing personal about that.
No, not at all.
At all. They just were making it clear to me that they weren't the ones for me to work with. So I need to continue to find the people that do want to work with me.
Yeah, auditioning is all preparation too. The more confident you can feel at walking in, then you've literally done everything you can.
Yeah,
You've done it.
I will say that there was like this one like non-equity, what are they called? Like when all equity, like when theaters all come together to do auditions together.
Oh,
Cattle call?
Cattle call, sure, but there's like a.
Yeah, it's like where a bunch of theaters sit in the audience, and then you go in and sing a 2-minute song, and then there's like a bunch of theaters represented watching the audition.
A bunch of non-equity theaters were doing that. I knew a few of the directors, people that were in the audience, so I came in, was like, hey everybody, like, hope you had enough time to have a coffee break or whatever, you know, making jokes, because I felt so confident being in that room. And I got feedback that they thought that I was being cocky. That I was being full of myself.
It's very I've learned this sitting on both sides of the table.
Yeah.
That like I used to go into auditions trying to be like mysterious. I was like, you know, like I was just like, I won't say much. I'm not gonna be like sad or mopey, but I'll just be kind of like quiet and reserved. Realize right away on the other side of the table, you look like an asshole if you do that. Also, if you are overly confident, even though you're just feeling yourself, you look like an asshole.
Yeah.
So it's all about walking in, being yourself, but it's this confidence of, let's say you walk into a party and you know there's going to be some people there that you want to meet or you want to talk to. They're cool. They're not like mean girls, but they're cool, and you want to the night to end where you have like established meeting these cool people. You walk into this room. So how would you act at that party? You know what I mean? Personally, just because of what I deal with, I would probably over talk. But what I've learned is like who I'd want to be at that party is like them. I'd want them to think the same of me. I'd want to be like the cool, open, but mysterious person. Like I'm not like in a corner not talking to anyone. I'll clearly, you know, socialize if people come over, but it's not about walking in and making sure everyone at the party knows that I'm there. Mm-hmm. It's about like walking in and I always think about like when you go to a party and there's that one person that's like so cool and you're like, wow, they're so cool. Like I want to be like them. Just start being like them. You know what I mean? The person doesn't even have to be a real person. It's just someone I make up, like an idea of it. But that's kind of what I try to bring in auditions now, is this welcome openness, but also slightly reserved, because otherwise there's like no right way.
No, there isn't. Like being able to read a room is a skill of its own. But now after working on the other side of the table as a casting director, I also know how like neurotic and awkward directors are, and how easy it is for them to write someone off for their convenience. So while I probably could have walked into that room like being a little bit cocky, being a little too friendly, but I'm not in control of how those people chose to perceive me.
Right.
They're the ones that chose to be like, tall, loud woman, she must be sucking up to us. I don't have time for this.
At the end of the day, all that matters is during your actual audition, your performance of the information you presented, the whatever.
Yeah.
If you felt confident about it or not, if you felt good, like that was good work and left the stage. You don't have control how they perceive you as a person. You don't have control how they perceive your work, but as long as you can feel good about the situation and leave, then you've done your job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel pretty great because I'm pretty sure all of those theaters went under in the last couple of years. So I'm not being cocky. I'm just stating fact.
Also, I don't have the goddamn mental capacity to police how the fuck I think I'm being perceived. I will walk in and be natural, and you're gonna fucking get what I put in front of you, and if you don't like it, I will go somewhere else.
Well, that's the other thing.
Because I literally don't have the energy. That's just who I am. I don't have the energy.
Also, if they're perceiving off of meeting you one time and they've made this decision. I know directors that cast people who they work with multiple times who know that person they're casting is like a horrible person. So like you never have control over it. You really don't. All you can do is go in and present how you want to present and do what you want to do and then let them make the decision.
Well, I don't want to be working with people who deliberately and knowingly cast assholes. Because it's just like you probably have some bullshit going on in your brain about like the suffering for art. And I'm like, I don't have the fucking time and mental capacity to be working with that. I'm doing this for fun. I'm certainly not doing this for pay. I'm doing this because I have to, because it's the thing that feeds my soul. So like, I'm going to do it in a good environment or I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a million other things that I could be doing.
And I think again, it's different factors for other people, but I think some of that success that people find is through that confidence. Doesn't necessarily mean they were the best person who came in that day, but there's something about leading with confidence that people like, they want that.
Yeah.
Not too much or whatever, not arrogance. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think that confidence you're talking about that I definitely didn't have when I was in the audition room that day, but it was the confidence that whether or not you choose me, I will be fine. I will be great.
Exactly.
I don't need this.
Yeah, you have to forget about it after it's done.
Also, we were talking about confidence versus arrogance, and like I think the thing about arrogance is that in my personal experience of being arrogant myself, it was always a cover-up for insecurity.
It absolutely is.
And people can tell that because humans have bullshit detectors.
Well, the sooner we can all realize whatever people are saying, most of the time people are just walking around projecting. Most of the time.
Man.
If there's someone in the comments that's like, this woman is fat and ugly, that person commenting clearly has issues with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If there's someone who won't stop talking about how the actors they hate on TV, they probably worry about their acting ability.
Yeah.
Or like I love to point out to my mom, I don't think there's anything wrong with her nose, but my entire life, whenever we're watching movies, and it's always women, my mom will go, I don't like her nose. Like we're watching like a movie with Sandra Bullock or something. She's like, yeah, I just don't like her nose. I've never liked her nose. And I'll say to her now, like, are you sure it's not your nose that you don't like, Mom? Because everything people say is just projection.
Yeah.
Truly. Human beings, everything we do are little defense mechanisms.
Well, and the fun thing is when you learn to stop judging others, you learn how much you've been judging yourself.
Yeah.
Ooh, and that's hard to let go of.
Oh,
That's
girl,
hard.
I
That's
stopped.
hard.
I put the kibosh on how judgy I was about people years ago, and I still have to be like, stop judging yourself. Stop judging yourself.
Yeah.
Calm
See,
down. You're one human being.
I think like I was so hard on myself that it made me be less judgmental because I would never want anyone to feel how judgmental I was. But every now and then
See, and I'm a gay man where forged in our making is wit and humor as a defense mechanism to protect us from the ridicule we will get as we get made fun of in middle school and high school.
It is a trait of the gays.
That's why we all turn into like nasty little sharp-tongued venomous snakes, because it was our defense mechanism to survive. We knew that we weren't going to be physically powerful enough to beat our bullies, so we developed the skill of wit usually. But as
Oscar Wilde would be proud of all of you.
I love the quote in Big Mouth, being young, gay, and mean is not a personality though.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of
Mouth.
gay men need to hear that, because especially now as younger kids are coming out and in high school and stuff, they are living in an America that even me 15 years ago graduating high school didn't see, where it's much more widely accepted everywhere. Not everywhere, but in a lot of places. So they're growing up with less ridicule. They're able to be out in middle school or high school, and they're developing these like young little gay mean personalities, but without the context of why they have it, because they haven't struggled as much. So I think
it's a history without a cause.
Yeah, we're gonna see some weird stuff in the gay world in like the next 20 years, because we have a new generation coming in that is like completely unhinged because they haven't dealt with a lot of the adversity or suppression, or as much of it as the people before them had, because it's a little bit more widely accepted. And we also are missing our elders, because all of our elders, so many gay men died in the AIDS crisis, and so we're not passed down information from older generations. So I'm living in this like middle generation where we didn't get any information from them. We still kind of grew up in a place where we weren't accepted, but now we're seeing a younger generation of gays.
You're the baby boomers of the gays.
Yeah, I mean, a little. I hope not. But so what happens?
Isn't the thing about the baby? No, wait, no. I'm thinking the Gen X. I don't remember generations. I'm sorry.
Which one? What do you?
Because it's just like isn't one of the generations like categorized by the
Gen
fact...
X is the middle one.
Yeah, Gen X is the
They're
middle.
They're caught in the
one.
middle
Okay.
between the war between boomers and millennials.
Okay, so you're the Gen X of the
Yes,
of the gay
kind
world.
of.
That makes more sense.
But then what you get these young gays who go to these clubs at 21, and then an older man at the bar will try and buy him a drink, and the young gay man will treat that older man like complete shit. And it's like, this man was here when people were throwing bottles at us.
Yeah.
Like there's a big disconnect because they didn't have to go through anything.
Yeah.
Not anything. They have to go through stuff, and it's not accepted. Families are still not completely accepted, but 2021 is much different than 2008 for me in high school. So it's just kind of a weird zone for the gays right now. But one thing I wanted to say when we were talking about confidence and arrogance, something I used to tell my students, is that there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. It is fine to think I am awesome or I am great. I am great. It is not like the line is when you start thinking I am greater than. And like you have to keep that kind of in your head and check yourself, because there is nothing wrong with like unhinged self-positivity. I think it can get to a point where it's like crazy, but as far as in your own mind and while you're with yourself at home, you know, it's important practice to just be supportive of yourself. It's really terrifying that we have to learn this. It should come naturally.
You'd think,
but we are set up in a terrifying, crumbling society of capitalism.
Yeah, that
benefits
gets off. Yes.
That gets off on our insecurities, definitely.
And it won't do anything about climate change.
Yeah, and then you're women, I think, identify as women, so it is twice as hard on you guys than it is on us. But
and we're still white, so it's like we're still toward the top of the hill.
yeah, it's very, very confusing. But the good news is it's 2021 and we finally have Band-Aids for people of different skin colors.
Yeah, so maybe you should wear one, Jackie, for your bruise.
Band-Aids.
It's a bruise. Why would I put a... Oh, okay, fine. I'll put one on before I leave.
Band-Aids out now at Walgreens.
Thank you for sponsoring us. Our new sponsor, Band-Aids.
Our new sponsor, the concept of Band-Aids.
Band-Aids and Walgreens.
On that...
At Rite Aid.
Sponsored by Rite Aid.
And Pornhub.
Yes.
Those are all the sponsors.
Oh my god.
I would not complain.
Oh man.
Has anyone checked in? I feel like Pornhub...
With Pornhub?
Well, shouldn't... Like, I feel like secretly they're probably like the richest company on the earth.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
You know what I
Do you want to
mean?
know? Okay. This is... I don't know if I'll cut this out later. Maybe edit this out later. I was wondering for months and months and months, where the fuck is the good lesbian porn? It's on Pornhub!
Oh, because it's probably amateur made by themselves rather than men making lesbian porn.
Now, there isn't a lot of it, and I am forever fucking angry that the gay porn section of Pornhub, because there's a whole other, like, chapter of Pornhub, and it's like, this is the LGBT section, except it's just the G. It's just gay dudes.
It'll warn you too. It'll be like, did you know that you're in the gay version? Switch back over to the straight version.
And I'm like,
what? What is on the straight version?
And like, hey, and I'm like, hey, ain't nothing wrong with I love dudes kissing, but that's not what I'm here to watch at this current time.
Right. You're like,
I was looking for the other thing. Like,
it's because the majority of lesbian porn is created by men for men.
Yes, and it always sucks. Ugh.
Which is, yeah.
I can't watch any of it. It's all of it is disgusting. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like produced by. They're like, yeah, this is what I want to watch.
There's like 2 or 3 channels like on Pornhub that produces reliably good content, and I'm like, feed me, I'm starving in the desert.
Yeah, you're like, please give this to me, and it's like indie lesbian porn.
Yes.
Basically.
It's beautiful.
But it'll have its time. See, I feel like when I'm in the mood for indie and lesbian porn, I just watch like a Ryan Murphy show. Like Ratchet, or, you know what I mean?
Oh
because God, Lord knows that lesbian like period drama stuff is in right now.
Yeah.
And they're letting lesbians play lesbians.
Hooray! Why?
We just still got to do that with gay men. We just literally will not let gay men play themselves.
I know. It's the number of Stanley Tucci and
James
Corden. When I found out that neither of those men were actually gay, I was like, what the fuck?
I am done defending James Corden because I used to defend for a while because people were like, I hate him, and I'd be like, well, yeah, I could see that, but he did start his career by winning a Tony for a one-man play, which is very impressive. And so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I just don't need him in every one of my musicals. First of all, he's not a trained singer.
Yeah, I was about to say he's cute and he's like a little cutie pie talk show host. But I'm like, stop putting him in musicals. He's not a trained singer.
But yeah, that's the thing. Why is he in The Prom, Cats, Into the Woods? I feel like he's in another one coming out, right? James Corden is in something else.
I don't know. I'm bad at movies.
I'm sure.
Or no, he's in that Cinderella movie. He plays one of the rats.
Of course he is.
You know what I mean? Like, he's in all of these movies, and I don't understand why there are thousands.
Josh Gad is right there.
And also,
Josh Gad also not gay.
Also, thousands of trained actors and singers that just aren't, famous.
Yeah.
Use one of them for one of these roles,
It's just capitalism.
That won't bring in the money, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, I don't see how anyone in an executive boardroom for a movie is going to say, if you cut James Corden from the movie, though, I don't think it'll make as much money as we need it to. I'm sure a room could be like, listen, guys, he's a minor character. No one's going to miss him if he's gone. I'm sure, yes, recognizability. But what if we get someone who's actually good?
What?
And then maybe people will enjoy it. If I had $1 million, I might produce a movie musical with actual no-named good actors and singers. Put it out there.
Watch that.
And because I feel like all these standards
West Side
in
Story
Hollywood.
with Ansel Elgort. Get the fuck out
I
of
know,
here.
because
Get
he
the fuck
makes his
out of
own
here.
music.
I don't give a shit.
But it's like
I know the 1960s movie. 60s movie was
61.
61 was technically racist because Natalie Wood is not Puerto Rican.
But don't worry, she got hers.
But she got hers, and also Marnie Nixon sang the part and beautifully. And I'm like, I don't care. That movie
It was
is
the
always
60s. It was a different time.
That movie is always.
It was a different time. Christopher Walken was randomly on the boat when she died.
There are movies.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, he was part of the party.
Yes, it was him. It was him, her husband at the time, who they were on the rocks with, and her. And she was maybe having an emotional affair with Christopher Walken, and then she died mysteriously. And it's we don't know if the husband murdered her. And she was told by a shaman woman when she was 9 years old that she was going to die by drowning, so she was terrified of water. Isn't that fucked up? My true crime is coming out.
Spooky.
Okay, but yes, no, I wonder because musical theater movies get such a bad rap for being so bad, and it's well, yeah, because you cast them terribly.
Yes.
What if you actually brought in that's why filmed stage musicals do so well.
Hamilton,
Come From Away is available now on Apple Plus. What was the shop girl?
Waitress?
Not Waitress, no.
Spitfire Girl?
No, the
Shop?
one where they write letters to each other and they go, will he like me? Will he know that there's a world of love waiting
just two
to
people?
learn him? No.
Daddy Longlegs?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm sorry.
They write letters to each. She Loves Me.
She Loves Me.
Oh.
Which is She Loves Me is an old movie from the 30s or 40s or maybe 50s. I don't know. Shop Around the Corner.
Yes.
And then it became She Loves Me, a musical in the 60s. And then our telling of it is You've Got Mail.
Oh.
That's the story of two people who know each other in real life that don't know they're the ones writing each other.
Oh.
And then they did, and then there was a revival of it on Broadway, and then
with
they
Jane
filmed
Krakowski
that.
and
Oh yeah, dark hair, big-eyed woman.
Yeah, Stephen Pascal's ex-wife. I saw her as Louise in Gypsy. She won a Tony.
God, I love her.
She's also in The Wedding Singer. She's in the musical. What the fuck is her name? Laura Benanti.
I
She always
love
plays-
Laura Benanti.
She's fantastic.
She would play Ivanka Trump on
Yes,
she's so
one
good.
of those shows.
Trevor Noah, I think.
She's so.
or maybe it was Colbert.
one of those,
One of
yeah,
those.
yeah.
She's so fucking fabulous.
It was great. Oh, and then Chuck, the guy who played Chuck, was on it.
Yes.
Adam.
Hottie boy. He's also in the movie Shazam. He was also in the original lead guy in the Broadway musical First Date.
That's right.
Zachary
Levi.
Levi.
Yes.
He's so hot.
Now it's just a who's
Oh.
who of who can name actors.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gorgeous.
Oh, he's so hot. You should watch the movie Shazam. Have you ever seen it? It's a superhero movie from DC, but it's funny. It's about a kid who puts on like a ring or something, and he becomes like a grown-up superhero guy.
Yes.
But it's that actor, but he's still like an 11-year-old kid.
Yes.
It's funny.
I think instead of self-care, we should just rattle off moods, and Andrew should recommend movies. So if you don't know, Andrew is fantastic at recommending movies. I will text Andrew and be like, what should I watch?
She's like, what should I watch? And I'm like, what are you in the mood for? She's like, maybe something thriller. And I'm like, what? Have you seen this? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you like? And she's like, this. And then I like my brain like files and finds a title for her.
I accept this challenge because I'm terrible at watching movies. Because I'm so ADHD that watching TV shows and movies it's a single focused action. Therefore, to me, it is not leisure.
No, that's why you do. Okay, I got your solution just to this.
Tell me things.
Do puzzles or play a handheld video game. Get a Wii or a Wii.
A Switch. I have a
Switch
Switch.
because then you can take in content and be playing at the same time. So you do both at the same time. For ADHD people, it's super helpful because I've noticed some people like to play video games on their TV, like more normal people.
Oh yeah, my brother does that.
And I think, why are you wasting that TV? You could be playing in your hand and taking in content through your brain, because my brain is like, do as many things as possible at once.
Yeah.
So I find puzzles or something else, a project you're doing while you're watching something.
Yeah, I find that like because the game has to be simple so that I can still pay attention to what's
Animal
going on
Crossing.
the screen. I don't like games without plots is the thing.
Harry Potter.
Fair. I already know the plot.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Or Pokemon.
Or you could do like The Sims Mobile.
Without no plot.
There is no plot. You have to make your own plot.
Yeah. Although, like, I love Breath of the Wild, and that's more about the story that you tell yourself. And boy, did I get hyper focused on that fucking video game.
All right, let's dish out some moods.
So
Moods for Andrew.
Mood for movie recommendation. Gay but with a happy ending.
Gay but with a happy ending. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. You ever seen that?
No, what's it about?
It's an Australian film, and I don't know if you know. They turned it into a Broadway musical in like 2011. But it's basically in the center of Australia. There's this like giant rock that looks like someone like poked one end of the world, and then out Australia, like a rock literally went, because it's like flat on the edges.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's not called Ayers Rock because that's the colonial name. It's called like Cthulhu or something.
I forget. There's like two names. There's an Aboriginal name and like an Australian white people name for it. But there's a town out there. I forget what it's called, but it's about these drag queens that live in Sydney. And I went to the area in Sydney where like it was filmed, just because it's like there's like a gay area. And basically they are looking for work, and these three drag queens they book a show. One of them is a gay man who had a wife at one point, and he's got a child, and she works at this hotel in the middle of Australia. So she books them a show out there. They don't know what kind of people are there, what kind of the show is going to be, but they rent a bus, and they basically have to drive the like week long it takes to get to the center of Australia to do their drag show for a bunch of people they don't know how are going to take it. And it's a silly movie, but it's fun, and it's kind of a cult classic. And the lead guy I forget his name. He's like he's one of my favorite actors. He plays the agent in The Matrix. He plays V in V for Vendetta. Like that guy.
He's in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he's in Lord of the Rings. Plays the
Weaver.
The guy, maybe? I don't know. He's so good, but he plays the lead. There's a straight man playing a gay man, but I actually appreciate this one because it was before everyone did it to win an award. It was more like he just wanted to do it, and it's actually pretty...
Hugo Weaver.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah, he's good.
So that's a fun one. And it's a random little...
No, I like fun. I also like silly. I need to finish Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, I love Brooklyn. I'm a huge fan of Mike Schur, who's the co-creator of that. He also co-created Parks and Rec. He made The Good Place. He was writing The Office, SNL. And his newest one I haven't seen because it's on Peacock TV and I refuse to buy another thing. But it's Rutherford Falls. It's like a show that is kind of about like white people in an area at like a school, but also Native people. Because I know one of the main characters is a Native actress. I don't know much about it. I'm assuming it's wonderful. But yeah, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, or that new movie musical everyone's talking about, Jamie, on Amazon Prime, which is like
how is that?
It's going super under the radar because it was like an off-Broadway musical like 5 years ago, and they just made this film and it came out, but no one cares about regular gay people stories anymore. We're past that. We need like the trans stories. We need stories that are like, it's told. We've seen the gay kid coming out story so many times before that ironically now that is done. Been there, done that. It's like, okay, we got 4 of them. Okay, cool. Love Simon. Okay, we're done with that. We're moving on. So that one is also a lot of fun.
Nice.
Okay, what else?
Okay, what if I'm feeling like super basic? Like I just want like a boy meets girl,
The
like
Notebook.
fall in love, like just like make like I feel I walk away believing in like romance.
Walk away believing in romance. Do you want it like current, something newer, or something older?
Sure.
I would. You may have already seen it, but I really liked Ali Wong's movie.
Always Be My Baby.
Always Be My Maybe.
See, I watched it and I did not like it.
Oh, I liked that one. I thought it was nice. I also just love a movie where Keanu Reeves does a cameo where he's playing himself.
Love that too.
He's like super self-aware now.
Love that too.
I'd also say, you want to feel good. And it needs to be romantic.
Yeah.
Legally Blonde. It'll always hit.
Yeah. No, that one's always.
Legally Blonde is always the correct
That
answer.
movie holds water.
That movie is fantastic.
Yep.
Whenever people ask me like, "Oh, are you a Heather's girl or a Mean Girls girl?" I'm a Legally Blonde girl.
Oh, see, I'm a Mean Girls girl, but I'm also like a Jawbreaker girl. Do you remember the movie Jawbreaker?
No.
Oh my god.
There are a bunch of movies that predate Mean Girls that kind of did it first. So
Yeah.
you've got Heather's, right? And then Jawbreaker was this really terrible 96 movie, maybe 97. And it's about these 4 bitchy best friends. And the opening of the movie is them surprising one of them in bed by pretending to kidnap her for her birthday. So they throw her in the trunk, and one of them puts a Jawbreaker, a huge candy, in her mouth when they duct tape it. And when they open the trunk to their destination, she's dead. And so the rest of the movie is the 3 friends trying to get away with having killed this girl.
Jawbreaker.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible, but I love it.
All right. What if I was like feeling like I just want to watch like a really bad action movie? Like I'm feeling like 70s, 80s.
I'm never in
Okay,
that mood
really
ever in my life.
really bad action movie.
But like I will
really
like laugh.
bad, where you want to laugh.
I want to laugh.
Okay, then I'm gonna say go back to some of the Arnold Schwarzenegger classics, like Last Action Hero, which I actually love that movie, but I was like raised on Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So you're gonna want to go to some of those ones, some of those earlier ones. One that I would say is great, though, if you're in a movie for a good action movie that's still funny because it's funny, but also because it's old now that some of it is campy, is James Cameron's True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis,
Ooh.
and like Tom Arnold is in it. A bunch of weird people. Have you ever seen True Lies?
No.
James Cameron. So like this movie is like high production value at the time. Cars blowing up, helicopters exploding. But the movie also has like 3 fake endings where like you think the plot has wrapped up and then you get more.
I love that.
A young Elijah Dushku, that one random super hot Asian actress that was in like Wayne's World that was in nothing else. Do you remember her? Where did she go? She also like played like a random S&M woman in a Nip Tuck episode. I only know that because I rewatched Nip Tuck this year, and I constantly I am all over IMDb when I'm watching anything because I'm like, what connections can I make?
Yeah, I
How
love
did
the
this person
trivia.
get? Yeah.
All right, one more mood, Jackie.
I'm gonna go gay again. Lesbian romantic with a happy ending.
Lesbian romantic
Because I
movie
need to channel that in my life.
with a happy
She's
ending.
done with men.
I'm done.
No more men.
No more. I also
Ooh.
might be homo-romantic. I'm not entirely sure.
Lesbian.
What does that mean?
I don't know if I experience romantic attraction toward men because
Towards men. Interesting.
Because like literally, I keep looking back at old Facebook statuses like, "LOL, I think I'm aromantic," and I'm like, "You're not though."
You're not though, given our last experience.
Yeah. I don't know anymore. To be determined.
You know, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard a lot about it. So my recommendation for that would be Portrait of a Girl on Fire.
Oh no.
Does it end happy or
no, that was the one that you were supposed to watch with the girl who broke her heart a couple weeks ago.
Oh, do not recommend watching movies closely associated with events in your life that like my friend, one of my good friend's dad, he passed away, and it's complicated. His dad was kind of estranged, but still talked to them. So he wasn't around a lot as a dad role, but he still knew him and was with him this last couple of weeks. So it was this complicated thing because his parent died, but it wasn't like he raised him, but it was just very complicated. And I called him like the day after or 2 days just to check in on how he was doing. He was like, it's going okay. I was just trying to watch a movie, so I'm going to meet the parents. And I was like, maybe don't watch a movie where parents is in the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Even though, like, you know, but like try to maybe avoid some of those things.
Well, I wish the girl that broke your heart was a girl on fire, but
She will be. What's her address? I'm a very trust my instincts with what I'm watching. I don't plan out what I'm watching unless it's something really specific I want to see, like the new episodes of Impeachment or something. But I trust my instincts. When I sit down, I think to myself, I just kind of let myself flow, and I think, I know whether I need to watch something I've seen already, you know, repeats of Parks and Recreation, or if I can take in something new. And then I kind of trust myself that if I'm going to take in something new, can it be dramatic, or do I need to put on this Cinderella movie? You know what I mean? I just kind of follow my instincts with that. I think it's important to do that because your plan may have been, I wanted to watch this movie, but your mind might not be in that place anymore.
yeah.
So
I tend to just have like rotating hyper focuses.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I think The Prom is because that has a lesbian.
The Prom is a good
The Prom
one,
is
yeah.
cute.
The Prom is, it has James Corden
I was
playing
about
the
to
gay
say.
man.
But it's got Meryl Streep.
But it's basically,
She can do no wrong.
I actually have one for you.
Okay.
But do you like horror movies?
No.
Because you have to watch 3 of them in a row. It's called the Fear Street Trilogy.
That one is good
That
though.
will give you a happy lesbian.
That is good. Think like Goosebumps, but rated R.
It was an R.L. Stein book.
Yeah.
But it's a 3-part trilogy on Netflix that released. They are horror. There are some gruesome deaths, and it is kind of like slashery.
As long as it's not jump scare.
There are a few of
It's
them, but the
little.
whole you have to watch it because the first 2 are clearly homages to slasher films. Like takes place in a summer camp, you know, classic. Like there's so many things you probably didn't even pick up on. Like in the second movie when he's wearing a bag over his head, that's a reference to Friday the 13th Part 2, where he's wearing a bag over his head. So many of those things are references. But it's to get to the third movie that shows you a flashback, and it turns the series like feminist and also like
It's
it
called the
turns it on
feminist. It's called the feminist horror
it's
series.
really cool, and it's
I
like
can get into
brand
that.
new, so
Yeah.
it's like all right on the nose.
I can
All of
get
them,
into
they're able to make content so fast nowadays that these movies are coming out like Moxie, where
Yeah.
it's right on the nose. Like you think you're watching the movie and some of the dialogue is like iffy, and you're like, ooh, like culture shifted fast, and 6 months ago I think this would have worked, but it's and then they keep talking, and you're like, oh, they fixed it because they like are staying meta with, you know, being socially conscious,
Right.
But they're also able to produce movies so fast now, film and be done in 6 months that they can get some of these social issues into these movies. Moxie is one you should try if you haven't.
Okay.
It's an Amy Poehler written movie for
love
Netflix.
Amy Poehler.
She plays the mom, but it's about her daughter who finds out all of the men in the high school, all the boys are making these mean lists about the girls and stuff. So she goes rogue and makes like a feminist zine anonymously and starts spreading it around the girls' bathrooms and basically kind of like starts this social change within her high school.
I love that.
We're into that. We're into that.
Yeah, no,
And it was really good. It was really self-aware. I had my best friend Marilyn watch it, and she is Cuban Salvadorian. She's, you know, a very dark-skinned Latina woman. And so she's taught me so much. We teach each other about all kinds of stuff. But there's the main character, the girl is white, and her best friend is not. And there's a point in the movie where she's like trying to get her friend to sneak out, like, come on, let's go do this. And her friend goes, no, like, I can't do that. Like, I am... For first generation, my mom is so strict on me because there's more pressure on me, you know, coming from somewhere different, and you don't have that. You can go do this as a white person. It was like this like little sub thing. But Marilyn and I were talking about the movie afterwards, and she was like, I really appreciated that because I felt that a lot growing up, and I've never seen that conversation put into a movie before. And it does a really nice job. It's kind of like Amy Poehler's little love letter Mean Girls.
Aw.
Also, Never Have I Ever. That one's really good too.
Never Have I Ever is so good. It's Mindy
It's a
Kaling's
show.
show.
It's a show.
Mindy Kaling wrote a show about a young...
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Okay.
It's good.
That was super cute.
I loved it.
Yeah, that was great.
It's just, it's like, I'd say it's for 16 and up. Because it looks like it's made for kids kind of when it's advertised, but it's not that appropriate.
Yeah.
Or it's not that
Yeah.
appropriate. Yeah.
Also, a great example of the guy who plays her crush is like 31 in real life, and I just hate everything right now. But
And he's also like the new trend of Hollywood of finding the whitest Asian people they can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that guy in Crazy Rich Asians, the like
Yes.
husband guy.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, he's fucking hot.
Oh, so
but like
hot.
that's the whitest version of a hot Asian man that they could have found for something.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's very
But
true.
we are on the brink of Asian representation. It was
We're
kind of the
working on it.
last one to come because they're seen as like it's like positive racism.
Mm-hmm.
My other best friend in this
Minority.
trio is Korean, so we've talked about this a lot as well. But it's positive racism. Asians aren't seen as a threat, so they're seen as like they're good at stuff or they're hard workers or whatever. They're stereotypes that are positive but still detrimental.
Yeah.
Basically, what it's done is the same. It's the opposite way that white supremacy told people with darker skin that they were not human by thinking Asian people in general are non-threatening and just ignoring them. We've made them non-human.
Yeah.
White supremacy. So that's what. So now the groups that have been through more, like clearly more suppressive action, are the ones first. We've got to make movies about you now or featuring you, and the last people to be considered on that list are that group that was forgotten or seen as background.
Ironically, still in the background.
Still in the background, but we are seeing. That's what I did.
But
love.
facing really real issues.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I loved Never Have I Ever, though, because the main character is a young, South Asian, she's Indian girl, which is super fucking cool. When have I seen a main character, teenage Indian girl, American?
It's
but her-
multi-generational too. It's got her mom,
Yeah.
her like older adult cousin who's trying to be like a scientist,
and her grandma comes
Yeah.
in the second season, but and it's all women too.
Yeah, they're not playing
but it's-
Indian tropes.
What I
They're-
love about it
yeah.
is the tropes they got. They're still the tropes, but they're people who've never been cast in them. So it's her and her two best friends, and you've got the theater nerd trope, but it's an Asian woman playing it, and then you've got the nerdy lesbian, like robotic class, who is a black actress. And it's just, we've seen these characters before, these tropes,
But not like
but
this.
we've never seen them non-white, which
Yeah.
opens things up, because then you can see into their lives a little bit, these secondary characters. But I just love it. I'm white, and I'm so fucking sick of looking at white people on my screen. I can only imagine what people of other ethnicities or cultures feel if I feel like this.
Well, I mean, I don't know how deep we can go into this, but like dating a man who is Filipino, and like whenever I see a biracial couple out in public, I'm like, oh, I see us. Or like a family that has like mixed children and a biracial mom and dad, and I'm like, oh, I identify with that. Like I'm kind of bored with the white on white toast. Like what?
Well, yeah, and if we can all settle down with someone and make children who's of a different ethnicity, we can help just get whiteness out of the world.
Just get rid of it.
Just get rid of it.
Get it out, because we're a genetic mutation anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's clearly what racism is. It's just, again, projection and a defense mechanism, because deep down in our genetics, we know that we're inferior. And so,
Yes.
so that's all of what racism is trying to prove to everyone else and ourselves
I
that
have
we're not
had that
inferior.
thought. Like, how could you say something so controversial yet so
Well,
brave?
we are. Our skin is a mutation. Our eye color is a mutation. Our
true.
hair is a mutation.
Yeah.
True.
Clearly,
I'm all
it-
recessive. I
it
am just all
provides-
recessive.
It provides variety, which to just humans walking around is more
Yeah.
fun, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like, and I'm reading this book, The Things I Never Told You by Celeste Young, and so like the mom and the dad, they're a biracial couple, and like I'm immediately like drawn into that story because it's never been told before. It takes place in the 70s, and they have mixed children, and I'm like, oh my god, like I identify, like not identify, but I'm so much more curious and interested about this than any other
that's
story
just-
I've read.
And
about.
that's just what you're learning and opening by finding yourself in a relationship with someone who's not white. It sucks that like what we get is like, we're learning to be open, and then people of color are like, we're just trying to exist. And we're like, but everything is an experience for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we also have to remind ourselves that we didn't
Yeah.
do this to ourselves or
Yep.
put ourselves in this society.
Yeah.
But the more thought you can provoke from yourself,
Mm-hmm.
the better off you are. And now your mind is open to recognizing and seeing these different things that you weren't looking for before.
Yeah, and now I think that Asian men are hot.
Asian men are hot.
Asian men are so hot.
I have worked really hard to get away from that. We were all conditioned to be sexually attracted to like Superman, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were all conditioned that way.
Fucking
Even if you
Clark
were a
Kent.
lesbian growing up or queer woman,
Listen, hot people are hot people.
sure, but we were all conditioned to like that chiseled, kind of like what I look like as far as like,
He's single.
I mean, I'm not the perfect example of it, but like clean cut white man, Clark Kent, Superman guy. And so many people get locked in that because we're trained, and so many gay men I feel bad for get locked in this thing. I've had conversations with other white gay men where they're like, well, I'm just like not sexually attracted to someone who's not white or something like that.
Nope.
And I remember thinking like,
Yikes.
because I can remember being there. I never said it out loud, but when I
Yeah.
was younger, that was
Yeah.
the only type of thing that I found myself attracted to or
Yep.
that I was interested in or fantasized about. And the more work I did on myself, the more open I became, and the more I learned to love myself, the more open I started to become. And now I swear to God, I am fucking unhinged because I walk down the street and every man, I'll find something hot about them, no matter what they look like, height, age, race, like size. I'm just like turned on by so many different kinds of people, and it makes me grateful. I feel overwhelmed, but it makes me grateful because I feel sorry
You heard it
for
here.
people who are stuck.
You heard it here first, folks. Being open-minded makes you hornier.
Yes, it does, but so many people are stuck in that box, and they won't even
Yeah.
allow themselves
Yeah.
to consider. So it's very open your mind, and you will also open your pants.
Open your mind, open your legs.
This has been Nightline. I am Leslie Monster.
Yes.
That's a Parks and Rec quote, just in case. you
We
didn't.
have so much content. We should
Anyway,
That's great. That's great.
yeah,
Yes.
I've got to go home anyway.
Yeah, fantastic.
I got a little
we got literally all that on.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm going on a fourth date. Well, he's coming over to watch a movie.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Is this your
cute.
neighbor or?
No, that's separately.
Don't make him
happening,
pumpkin
Excellent.
soup. He'll break up with you.
but No pumpkin soup.
Can
no.
we get content of Andrew reacting to your breakup? Would you be comfortable with that?
I don't want to put that on the internet.
No. Okay, that's fair.
Long story short, I made her pumpkin soup and she broke up with me for someone else.
So it was just a turn of events. It wasn't the pumpkin soup, but it was just like what happened that
Well, it
day.
also, yeah, it wasn't the fault of the pumpkin soup. And also, like, I'm overreacting. We hadn't been together that long, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's a tough one because there's really like only one way to look at it, I think, healthily, which is just like trying to be happy for that person, which is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Or just like letting go.
Well, what I realized like this week, I'm like, I don't know that I necessarily miss this person in particular, but holy shit, have I realized that I'm like, oh no, I do want romance, and I really miss someone being into me.
Maybe that this girl just kind of opened back up that
Yes.
door in your heart, and now the door's open.
Yes.
And she left, and you're like, but
I-
really it wasn't her, it's just that the door's open.
Yes. I tasted a crumb of romance and realized that I'm a man starving in the desert.
Yes, that is very, very true.
And one day you will give pumpkin soup to the right person.
Yeah. One day you'll spill pumpkin soup on someone and they will thank you. So you just gotta wait for that. And the more work you do to become comfortable and love yourself, literally an aura starts kind of
Pumpkin aura.
like your confidence, the confidence that rolls out. Don't you just ever meet someone and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
That person like is hot. They know what's going on. They're confident and like I want to be around. I don't know if I want to be them, be in them, be around them. That comes from like being happy with yourself. People want to be around people who are happy with themselves. You know what I mean?
It's
That's
true.
very true.
It's true.
There are people. Sometimes people do drift towards people who are mean to and unhappy with themselves.
Don't do that.
But that's a different.
You
a different kind
talk
of
to a
story.
therapist about
Yeah.
that.
Been there,
different
done that.
Anyway, this has been the weighted blanket happy hour,
Uh-huh.
and we are your hosts. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Good. I'm glad we got one soundbite of us
Yeah, really.
saying the thing.
And anyway, thank you for having me.
Oh my
I
god.
don't know if we stuck on a schedule, but I have
I'll fix it in
ADHD.
post.
No, we have so much
Yeah,
content.
same.
We might even have enough content for 3 episodes.
I'll figure it out later.
It's great.
Yeah, the the Andrew Trilogy.
There we go.
Yay!
And stay safe.
Stay sane.
Same
Stay
time
safe.
next week. Cool.
Yay!
Yeah,
We
that
got-
was so
we got-
much fun.
I'm gonna have to edit that like so much, but
Oh, it'll be
Whatever. Like, even if we like do like one part and then we have a couple of other episodes and then we do the second part, other episodes.
that might be
or
what it
whatever.
ends up being. Just so like,
That's fine.
This
This
has
if you
been
drop
great.
the cursor anywhere, you'll just hear Cinderella.
yeah. Oh my god.
Yay!
Well, cool. This was fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime.
Absolutely.